We live? Why do people in Greece hate to get up at dawn? Oh, come on.
I don't know, Ken. Why?
You're live.
Because dawn is tough on Greece.
Jesus.
That's terrible.
That's me. You guys are going to get these every week now, just because I like seeing eyes roll on the screen. So this is episode 112 of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. I am your host, Ken.
And I am your other host, Scott.
And this is the latest installment of the Big Red Roundtable, featuring Justin and Derrick, who are our two favorite cousins from the Husker Cuz Cast. Say that 6 times fast, Ken. Husker Cuz Cast. Sorry, Tyler. And I'm not even drinking anymore. How bad is this? Anyway, before we talk to them, you can follow our show at Gen Red Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and also listen to the audio podcast of this live stream by subscribing to Generation Red on your favorite app. If you're listening to this podcast now, please take a few minutes and leave us a rating and a review. If you're watching us live or on demand on YouTube, please give this video a like. It is also absolutely free to subscribe to us. So please do so if you haven't already, and ring the bell. Then get back in the live chat or the comments section and share your thoughts as we go along tonight. We'd love to get your feedback on tonight's over-under game. Another quick announcement. We are also debuting a brand new segment starting next Sunday night. Coach Ben Audi of the BA Coaches Show on YouTube will be providing video breakdowns of a couple of plays from each game throughout the season. This will be an invaluable resource for us to share with you guys on our future live streams as we all hopefully learn the game a little bit more on a deeper level as a result. Oh, and congratulations, Coach, on becoming a featured content creator at characterchronicles.com. Make sure you subscribe to his channel at the BA Coaches Show. We are also sponsoring a charity golf tournament. Where's my slide? My slide's way up here.
You got it.
You got it. Thank you, sir. October 12th at Woodland Hills Golf Course in Eagle, Nebraska. There will be flag and team prizes, 2 drink tickets valued at $350 each for each golfer. On course games, there's an awards banquet at the conclusion of play, which will feature a silent and hopefully a live auction. It is $500 per 4-person team, and you do have to sign up as a team. And then it's $250 to sponsor a hole, which will get you a free sign put at the tee box, advertising your business or your podcast or whatever else you want, so long as it's decent. And that's pretty much it. That's all of the housekeeping crap I have to do today, guys. So, Derrick, Justin, thanks so much for coming on tonight. It's been a while since we've live streamed with you guys, and you've done some really good content lately on your podcast. Just in case somebody watching or a few people that might be listening to this later aren't familiar with your show, what have you guys been doing the last 4 or 5 weeks?
So we started our season 9 of the podcast, and I can't believe we've been doing it that long. We've stuck with it. It's been a lot of fun. We're just getting ready for the season like everybody else is right now. We did some Big Ten previews, did 3 episodes of that, but we're back into Husker, all Husker talk now. We had our Husker season preview last week, and UTEP is Tuesday night, so we're looking forward to that.
So you're doing, so your UTEP preview will be Tuesday night. So then all this plan I had tonight for you to help us preview UTEP instead isn't going to work, huh?
We can't do that without Tyler.
I'm kidding. Totally kidding, because we're not going to preview it anyway. We put out like a 5-minute video from our Roulade versus reality video we did like 6 months ago. We just threw the UTEP segment out there, and yeah, that's our preview for the year. And strangely enough, it's got like 500 views. Go figure.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But what we're going to do tonight, folks, is the over-under game. It's something that's how we got this whole dang thing started, isn't it? Isn't that the first thing we did? We reached out to you and said, hey, we've got this family thing going with our podcast. You've got the cousins who like to argue thing going on your podcast. It'd be kind of cool to get together, and God bless you, Justin, that gave me the idea for the over-under game, and it's been a heck of a lot of fun to play.
Anything that will cause debates and arguments is right up our alley.
Well, and without Tyler here tonight, it might be a little bit more tame, but we'll see. We'll see as we go along. I was interested to see all you guys' numbers on some of these things. And folks, in case you are familiar with the game, there's like 4 or 5 categories that will be missing tonight, simply because for the purpose of time, number one. And number two, we kind of like to talk about some players that might impact some of these numbers as we go too. So, all right, let's jump into it. It's the 2024 over-under game, and the first category was 2023 passing. Nebraska passed for a whopping 1,631 total yards, which was 130th in the country. I have set the over-under at 2,850, a mere 100 yards per game more than what they averaged last year, which would, if it were in 2023, it would have been tied for 72nd place. So, going right into the numbers, these are the numbers you guys gave me. So, Justin, you have the over at 2,880.
I do. I know, like, just being the over after recent years, like 240 yards per game kind of sounds like a lot, but we have a much better quarterback than we've had in recent years. But we had a number higher than that just 2 years ago in 2021. So, I mean, it's definitely
forgot about
possible.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
we thought Casey was going to, or not Casey, but Adrian was really going to light it up in 21, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I've thrown away that Google Doc. I don't have that Google Doc anymore because I don't want to remember the pain that was 2021. Scott's
It'll go
also
down in infamy.
Yeah, no doubt. Scott, you've definitely got an over. I know I've got the over. What's your thinking on 264 yards per game?
Yeah, so I've got us going 264 yards per game because of just like, I know we've talked about this in seasons past that like we have a lot of potential, but is it going to actually come to fruition?
Mm-hmm.
Law of averages would tell me that if there's any year that our wide receiver room does better than it historically has done, and our quarterback room does better than it historically has done, it's going to be this year. Mm-hmm. And having 3,100 yards of total passing still only just barely breaks the top 50 of offensive passing productivity. And I think with Dylan Raiola, even as a freshman, and with our wide receiver room unproven as it is, I just think we got the dogs to do it. And I think that there's going to be some games where we're behind and we're going to be playing from behind, and we're not going to be relying as much on our running game as I wish we would. And so what are we going to do? We're going to rely on our freshman's arm because he's got an arm and he's got a wide receiver room. He's got a tight end room. He should hopefully have an offensive line that gives him half a second more than we've seen in seasons past. So I just don't see any reason why we don't hit around that 250 to 270 yards per game in our passing game. I'm going to go way over and say, 3,169. That'll be my theme, as it is usually every single year. I like to add a little 69 in there because it's a sexy number, guys. It's sexy. Let's look sexy this year.
Yeah, I noticed that. I said, "Oh, look, we're back to 69 again."
I'm a man of consistency, you know. Like I like to remain consistent. So yeah, that's my reasoning. I know it looks a little bit rose-colored tinted glasses and everything, and it is. I'll admit, I'm sipping the Kool-Aid this year, or the Rule-Aid, as we infamously like to say on this show. But that's my reasoning. I think we've got it in our wide receiver and our quarterback room to break the top 50. Not it like, oh, we're going to do crazy things. Just, top 50. Come on. I think we can break it.
More it than we've had before, for sure. I've got a little bit of an over too. I've got 244 yards per game. If I remember right, didn't Adrian, he was like 2,619 yards in his true freshman season after missing basically 2 games after getting hurt against Colorado and not even playing Akron. So he had a pretty good year. I think Dylan's a step above. I'm not sure, I'm hoping this offensive line, I think the addition of Mazuka on the right side is going to be good protection over there. I think I hate the fact that Teddy's out. That hurts depth at left tackle, but it looks like Justin Evans has pretty much locked down that left guard spot. You've got some big dudes in that tight end room that can help out Corcoran on that left side if you need it on some of those heavier sets where we throw the ball. I like about 240, 245 yards per game for Dylan and whoever's back there at quarterback if he gets hurt to throw. But I namely came up with this number because I'm saying, yeah, Dylan's going to stay healthy for 12 games for the first time like ever in the Big Ten in 10 years. So I think, what was it? Tanner Lee was the last guy that went a whole season without getting hurt.
Yeah.
And I've said the reason why is because he completed more passes to the other team than he did to ours. So he didn't have a chance to get sacked. He was too busy throwing interceptions.
Sounds like some other quarterbacks we've had in last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Derrick, you've got the under. Be curious to hear where you come up with not questioning it, just where's the rationale come for the 231 yards per game? You think they're going to try to run more?
No, here's the deal. So Nebraska's 5-year average for passing is 2,600 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to hit over 2,850 just seemed a little high to me. I think we will be massively improved in passing. It's just not quite that high. And, over the since 2009, which is as far back as CFB stats will go, Nebraska's only thrown over 3,000 yards in 3 seasons. And that was in 2021, 2017, and 2015. And all 3 of those seasons were losing seasons. So I guess in that aspect, I'm hoping that we focus a little more on the run and keep that going. And I think the run will open up with having a pass threat. But I just don't see him I just don't know that I see this coaching staff throwing Dylan Raiola to the fire that fast. Like, I don't think you're going to come out and throw 30 times a game. And I just don't know that we're going to get that many yards without throwing 25 to 30 times a game.
Well, I think the first 3 games is a great opportunity for him to get those numbers. Maybe it doesn't happen in the Big Ten against better defense.
And I think even less. I think they'll try to run the ball more in those first 3 games. They'll try and establish a run. You don't want to get into a shootout with Colorado. So I don't know why you don't want to throw the ball a lot there.
I just think there's opportunity to put up a lot of yards against, especially UTEP and Northern Iowa. We'll see.
And there probably will be a plenty of yards in those games. But again, I think they will work on the run. Quite a bit.
I think that historically, it's nice to look at those numbers and also to just consider the context of every single year that we were given. That we didn't have a 5-star quarterback, a true pocket presence quarterback. We've been running dual threats for the last 10 years. And then we haven't had an absolutely talent stacked wide receiver core.
That's not really true. We had Tanner Lee in 2017.
He was a true pocket quarterback, yeah. But not a 5.
Yeah, but he wasn't 5-star. That's what I mean. I'm saying like that, and like it's we've either had one or the other. We've either had a dual threat quarterback or a true pocket passer has been middle of the pack, not necessarily. And then who did Tanner Lee have to throw to that was like heralded as just an absolute explosive talent?
Stanley Morgan Jr. and J.D. Spielman.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Did set a single record against OSU for over 200 yards receiving, but that's because they were up by 75 points, so it didn't matter how many yards he got.
and again, I have us passing 1,100 more yards than we had last year.
Sure.
It's not like I'm saying there's not going to be massive improvement. I just think that we've historically I think we've severely underperformed in the last 5 years. And
so if we just go back to an average, I mean, being 50th in the country isn't necessarily blowing your socks off. I think we've just underperformed.
I also think people need to realize too, and keep an open mind in the fact that he's a true freshman, 18-year-old kid. He's going to make some mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. which is why I think that we're gonna actually. It's going to be almost like a positive feedback loop that he's going to make mistakes. We're going to get behind, and we
But I think
can't rely on the run game. We have to rely on his arm.
And again, I think that's all the more reason why we need to open up the run game is to take a little pressure off of him.
And we got a stacked running back room that, albeit unproven, except for maybe Emmett Johnson and Ramir back before he would get hurt. So that should take some pressure off. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Coach BA had a comment earlier that he wasn't in on the beginning where he said he's on the over, but not that he's asking viewers. In fact, we are, Coach. Anybody who's viewing and watching tonight, we absolutely want your over-unders as well. If you want to throw some numbers in there, you can throw some numbers in there. That'd be great, but just want to let us know if it's an over-under.
Give a little brief synopsis as to why you think.
Hey, Scott, so. I know you like to point out like the national ranking on the things. I think it's more relevant to talk about what it is in conference. So even if it's 231 yards, that would have been good enough for fourth in the Big Ten last year in passing.
Yep.
Big Ten the defenses are so much better than, when you look at the nation, there's a lot of lesser conferences, lots of conferences that don't play good defense. So I think if you look at it in terms of your peers in the Big Ten, 231 yards or 240, 264 would be a gift. But, 231 is still really good in the Big Ten.
Yep.
No, that's true. But I do think that this year we're going to see a dynamic shift in the Big Ten. There's a reason why Wisconsin is going away from their run and gun. There's a reason why Iowa has finally decided we're not going to be this same milquetoast offense identity that we've had forever. There's a reason why Greg Schiano's doing what he's doing at Rutgers. There's a reason why Maryland is what Maryland is. I just think that the Big Ten's identity has been long overdue to shift in a more progressive college football style that the SEC has been adopting for the last 10 plus years. And so I think with the introduction of, 4 West Coast teams coming here, this is the year. This is the year where the overall collective identity of the Big Ten changes a little bit. Do I think it's like a drastic change? Do we become an air raid type of conference? Absolutely not. But I really think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on these teams to, you can't, when you've got a team that can just absolutely throw down in the air, game in, game out, like the Pac-12 has been used to for decades, I think it's going to be a mix of we adjust a little bit and they adjust a little bit, and it's going to be something more in the middle. And I think this year, I would put money on this year seeing a statistical change if you were to compare our conference nationally and our passing productivity as a conference as a whole. I think we see a big shift this year. Big enough, enough to be significant, where the average passing yards per team goes up around 25, 30 yards. I would not be surprised. I just see that being the blueprint for the future of college football. But that's just me getting a little bit too pie in the sky, thinking big picture. But that's great point to bring up, because that was actually something I was considering when picking my number of I think we're just going to see a shift in the Big Ten's passing productivity historically.
Well, yeah, you can say it early in the season for sure. I think you're going to see more passing earlier in the season, especially from Nebraska and teams like that do play in the windier conditions. But then once you hit mid-October and on, and those winds start whistling through the stadium, it's going to be, we hope we establish some sort of an effective run game. So I don't think 231 yards per game is going to be the number they'll aim for in the passing game when they hit mid-October, early November. If they get to 200, they'll be pretty happy. But
we're going,
we're
in November. Don't we play USC in?
Yep. Yeah, out there we play USC out there and UCLA here. Should be fun.
It's going to be a fun year. It's I'll just put that out there. It's
coming out of this passing offense question. I know I didn't give you a heads up on this. I just want off the top of your head, boys, who catches the most passes in 2024? Not yards, most passes.
Well, I'll just go first since I'm talking so heavily about this pass game. Originally, I would have said earlier in our pregame and our preseason kind of like view, I would have probably said Thomas Fedoni. I would have assumed that he was going to be our most reliable guy, and would just be available for catches quite readily and regularly. But as far as I've been catching, I mean, just in the last few weeks, and I was kind of late to the party of the whole Jamal Banks gang. I didn't realize how much the media had been hyping this guy up. And then once the 10 numbers came out, 0 through 9, and Jamal Banks being the singular offensive guy to receive that number, I think is foreshadowing his presence in our offense coming into 2024. And so I'd say it's probably Jamal Banks. I'd say he's probably our most reliable passing target.
I have the same. I think it's going to be Jamal Banks. I mean, he's got a record, at Wake Forest, everything that he's done there. I mean, that dude catches balls.
Okay. How about you, Derrick?
It's hard to argue. I think it's probably Jamal Banks. We talked about this a little bit on a podcast, on our podcast. And I threw out there and I'll throw it out here too, just for fun. I have Jamal Banks with the most catches, but I have Isaiah Nair with the most yards.
Wait,
and I have Thomas Fedoni with the most touchdowns.
Okay.
Yep. I still have Thomas Fedoni as most touchdowns. I think he's that red zone big target.
I think Isaiah Nair is just too shifty and fast compared to Nair. Nair is going to be I can get it to him. I know he's going to catch it. He's a big dude. He's going to be tough to tackle. But he's just not going to juke a guy quite like Isaiah Nair is going to, I don't think.
No. I'm different. I have Thomas Fedoni as the one getting the most catches. He's going to be that security blanket on third down, middle portion of the field. So that's who I've got catching the most balls. And I'm probably going to be the one who's wrong, and you three are going to be right, which is fine.
No, I would not be surprised. Yeah, this question, I pondered it for a little while because I was like, oh shoot.
I've had a lot of guys.
I think it's close.
I've had a lot of guys at work tell me they think Fedoni will be the most catches.
So, how many catches do you think it will take to be the reception leader on the team?
It's got to be over 50, right?
I would think it'd be between 40 and 60. It just depends on targets, really. I didn't even, I didn't even look at those numbers from last year as well to find out.
Billy Kemp had 35. He led with 35.
Yeah, Billy Kemp led. That's right. He did lead at 35. I think it's going to take 40. I think we're going to throw that.
Did the team even have 50 catches last year?
I mean, yeah. Last year's a terrible example.
Awful.
Yeah.
Historically bad.
Historically bad. So you guys ready to move on to rushing offense? Yep. All right. Last year, Nebraska rushed for 2,122 total yards, which was 60th in the country, and I think second or third in the Big Ten. 1,980 is what I set the over/under at because we don't have a running quarterback. I thought just under 200 yards less would be a little bit. So I think like you guys said on your last show, I think Dylan's good for 150 yards this year just on scrambles. Not too many called plays. So 1,980 yards would have put us at 71st in the country in 2023. So with that in mind, there's the over-under numbers we all came up with, and everybody was under except me. I'm the odd one out on who's going to catch the most passes, and apparently I'm the odd one out on rushing yards. I do think we're going to find a bell cow, and I have a feeling that's probably going to be Emmett Johnson. And then he's going to soften everybody up for Dante Dowdell, who's probably going to bust some long runs late in games. So that's where I kind of came up with 170 yards per game.
Ooh, you like Dante as your number 2 running back?
I like him coming in late. Yeah, being a big thumper. He's made a push in camp. That's everything I've read, is he's made a big push in camp in the last week, and he's running people over. And there's some video out there of him absolutely lighting dudes up that normally don't get lit up in the secondary. So interesting. I've got the over. I think 170 yards per game is realistic, especially getting later in the year when we're probably not going to throw as much, and you're going to want to thump some people. So How about
So
you? Go with you, Scott. Where'd you come up with that particular? It's just barely an under.
Well, I was just gonna say I like the fact that your complementary offense to or passing to run ratio, where you've got right around 3,000 yards passing and right around 2,000 yards rushing for 500,000. That'd be sick. For 5,000.
Yeah.
I like that ratio. That's
Nice
honestly
60-40.
I'd take that. But no, so I've got the lowest number here at 1869 with about 156 yards per game, and that just goes complement to the fact that we're going to be passing a little bit more, I think, this year with our quarterback, and our running game isn't necessarily going to be relied upon as much as I would like it to. But it's just going to be consistent. We're going to have a good running game. It's not like we're going to get 2,200 yards like we did last year by just, that's all we had. We just didn't have a reliable passing quarterback. So we kind of got to run it a lot more. I think we sit around that 1800 mark. I couldn't go 1769. So I had to go 1869. Cause I think it's just above 1800. But yeah, I'm thinking, probably around that 150 to 160 yards per game.
Okay. Well, you guys are all in the same neighborhood, so you're thinking kind of the same rationale there, Justin?
Yeah, the reason that I have it less than last year, a lot less, is because, the quarterbacks accounted for over 1,000 yards last year in the rushing. We're not going to have the quarterback game to be running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Dylan Raiola, with his arm, you're going to want to use him a little bit more than what you were able to do last year. They wanted to throw last year. They just didn't have the weapons. They didn't have the guys to throw the ball. So I just think the pass game will be a little bit more involved this year, and losing the quarterback run is like, it's huge. And I could see it way under. I could see the actual yardage way under than what we're showing right here. Yeah,
it's possible. For sure, it's possible. Go ahead, Derrick, and you're kind of thinking the same lines, or was there another?
I actually really disagree with Justin. I think Matt Rule wants to run the ball. He's said that since he's been here. I don't think that's changed. So I think he would love to establish the run. I'm going to go with probably an unpopular take here, and I just don't know if I trust any of our running backs to really take the over on this. Mm-hmm. I like Emmett Johnson. I like all the guys that we have. I just have yet to be proven that any of them can really take the reins and run with it. I mean, we have two guys at 400 yards last year. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to imagine all of a sudden we're going to have this 1,000-yard running back. And it doesn't even have to be 1,000 yards, but I mean, you still have to get close to that to get. And I just don't see it. I mean, we have to replace, like Justin said, you have to replace 1,000 yards from the running or from the quarterbacks. And I right now I don't see a running back that's going to be able to do that.
I think it's probably something like where you have a running back that hits around 800 yards, then you have another running back that hits around 550, 600, then you have another running back that's around 350, 400. And that's 1,800 yards right there. And that's basically, right where you're thinking, Derrick. I think that's probably what we see across the board. We don't see, if we see Dylan run, we should probably
get nervous.
And unless he just sees something stupidly open, like, all right, dude, take the free first down.
I mean, he's kind of a big, thick boy. I think he can absorb a hit.
Oh yeah, tuck his shoulder.
I said this during the passing conversation, but I do think that with Dylan being able to pass the ball, it will open up the run. Teams ain't gonna be able to stack the box and put 8 guys in the box and shut down the run like they did for the second half of last year when they knew all we could do was run Henrik Harper.
Yeah.
And once that happened, it shut our offense completely down.
Well, Matt Rule, he kind of talked about that. He basically says, like, we will murder you.
Yeah.
This summer, that was a great quote.
If you sit up in too high safeties, we will kill you. Meaning we're going to run it right down your dang throat because you're hanging back to stop the
We
pass.
will kill you.
So-
I love the way you said it. You said it with such
We
like
will murder you.
veracity.
Murder
We will kill you.
If you die,
die.
you die. So, all right. How about our running back question? Here it is. Who finishes the year with the most carries? I worded it that way specifically because we've always had one or two guys that start the year as major contributors in the running game end up getting hurt. So who do you think finishes the year with the most carries?
Emmett Johnson. I
Really?
think he's going to start. Yeah, I think he's going to start, and I think he's going to.
Oops.
I think he'll take it over all year long. I think he'll be the starter, 12-game starter.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's Emmett Johnson. I could see Gabe Irvin maybe being about 20, 15, 20 pounds more than him. Maybe being like that third down back that you just need to get a couple yards out of. But I just don't see our coaching staff this year getting super fancy with the running back rotation. Other than just pure rest, just giving that bell cow a moment to like breathe. So yeah, I think it's Emmett Johnson. I think he takes the most carries. And then number 2 and number 3 guy down that depth chart take a fairly sizable amount of carries, but it's going to be pretty, there's going to be a gap, a pretty big gap between number 1 and number 2.
Well, I'm Emmett Johnson too. That's who I've got listed as my guy that's going to take the most carries because he's proven it. He proved it last year for second half of the year. He got beat up a lot. He was running the ball quite a bit, and he was tough. And he's gotten bigger and stronger and looks like he's a bit faster. And he was the first guy that took snaps at that open practice that I went to, the 1890 practice. So, yeah, for me, it's Emmett Johnson. I'm guessing it's the same for you, Derrick. Or are you going to be a contrarian?
It's probably Emmett Johnson. I will say this, though. I don't know that I agree that he's going to be a bell cow. I think this is going to be a running back by committee. I think that this number will be close. Whoever the number 2 back is, I think it's Ramir Johnson myself. I think it's going to be the Johnson & Johnson show. And I think it will be a little closer. I think they're going to do whatever they can to get Ramir Johnson involved in this offense.
I agree. I just don't know if he's going to be carrying the ball as much as he's going to be catching it.
It's going to be a little Swiss Army knife.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be playing the Rule R or Duck R, Rule R. I don't know. Bad joke. My apologies.
Wouldn't be the first time you told a bad joke today.
Yeah, I left that opening and you took it. So there we go. Moving on to scoring offense, which is this is the last offensive category we'll talk about before we switch over to the Blackshirts. 2023 scoring was 18 points per game, 123rd in the country. The over-under I have set for this year is 26.5. What do you guys think? Let's take a look at your slide, see what you guys thought. I think we're all over except Derrick. Go ahead, Derrick. What's the 25 points? It's 7 points more a game. So,
and again, I see massive improvement. I just think, 7 points is going to be tough enough to get to average more. I think getting over that 26.5, the 8.5 points is just a bit much to get over. There's going to be improvement. It's just I can't see that much improvement from 1 year to 2.
Okay, Scott.
I got it at 28. It's just hard when you've got the yards laid out. It just equals a certain number in my mind. And with me picking around 250 yards passing and then 150 yards rushing, that equals in my mind around 4 touchdowns a game averaged out throughout the season. And then our place kicker maybe gets an average of one field goal a game.
Mm-hmm.
hopefully more. I would take more. Give me more. But that puts me right at about that 28 number. And I think that 28, when you've got these 4 teams coming in from the Pac-12, and you look at the numbers from last year, and then if I am correct in my assumption that the identity of the Big Ten shifts to a more high scoring type of conference, I mean, we would have been 5th. We would have been 5th in the conference for scoring points per game last year at 28. I think once you get USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon, I think they stretch that number out a little bit, and that'd probably put us right around 6 or 7. And if I'm thinking we're an 8-4 team this year, I think that's totally fair. I think 28 is a good number.
I've got the same rationale as you do.
Yeah.
For my extra point. Originally, I'd wrote 27.5 on my sheet when I first filled out the sheet, the Google Doc. And I was like, take a chance, McCone. That's kind of what I figured. So let's just throw 29 out there for me. But I think I've got similar yardage to yours per game. And I'm
and this is one of those things.
Kicker.
This is one of those things where I think the first 7 games you're going to see a much higher average, but maybe not even 7. Once you start playing Rutgers, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa, this number is going to start dropping. I think towards the end of the season, that's where this number starts coming down. When you start the season, we could be averaging 35 points a game easy. But as the season goes on, I think it's going to be tougher and tougher to come up with some points.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hard to believe that if we have even a remotely productive offense comparatively to last year, there's no reason why every game on that front half is something like 42 to 45 points a game on our offense, somewhere in the 30s every once in a while. And then once you get into that second half, if every game is finishing 24-21, 21-17, 23-20, I mean, it doesn't bring that average down too much. And like when I went through my game to game analysis of like, here's what I think is totally reasonable based on these numbers that I've kind of arbitrarily shit out of my ass. The number that I kept coming up with was right around 28. And even if I adjusted and like moved things a little bit and said, okay, maybe we have a few games where it's 13-10, 14-13, something like that, it still ended up right around 27, 26. And I'm like, well, if I have to just kind of play somewhere in the middle, and 28 sounds pretty good to me this year. I think
if I remember right, when we did our Roulade show, I think the average between my Roulade picks and my realistic picks, I think I came up with right around 27.5 between the two. So that's why I went up to 29. I thought, I'm just going to drink more Roulade and just say Justin
at the voice of college football thinks 52 points per game average is the number.
You're thinking between UNI and UTEP, right, Justin?
I will say this: of everything that I've picked under on so far, none of these overs would surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
We could hit over on all of them, and it wouldn't surprise me any. I guess I'm just trying to taper my expectations a little bit.
That's smart.
That's
a wise thing to do.
I think there will be a massive improvement on offense. I just don't know that all of a sudden we're going to be like this top 5 offense in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Justin,
I'm not tapering my expectations. I'm keeping them right about where I'm not too disappointed if it underperforms, but I'm not, I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Well, our buddy at Nebraska, the voice of college football, has released a video specifically just about an hour and a half ago about Jamal Banks and why he thinks he's going to be the man. Top 10 to top 15 receiver in the country, which if you guys' prediction that he's going to be the guy that catches the most passes is true, then yeah, I could see him being top 10, top 15 pretty easy. But
Yeah,
Speaking
I had to say, Justin, real quick, Justin, the college, Nebraska voice of college football. You made me go down the rabbit hole of Jamal Banks because I did not do my due diligence when we had our episode, and I felt kind of foolish. It was a little bit of a bruise to my ego, but you were right. I don't think Malachi Coleman is going to touch the top 3 with Jamal and Nair and Jalen Lloyd and company. I mean, you're right, man. I just had to say that, put that out there. Cousins, you guys weren't there for that, but
yeah, it was a fun show. How about Malachi giving up number 15 and taking number 11 instead so that Dylan could have it? I thought that was pretty cool.
They arm wrestled for it.
Yeah, sure. Dylan won.
Yeah, right. He's got to play with this guy for the next 3 years. He's going, hey, I'll give you my number, but just don't forget me out on the field when you see me.
Throw a couple my way if I get out there. Yeah,
for sure. Throw about 11 passes to me per game. I'll be happy. 11 targets. All right.
Oh, well, there you go, Scott.
Do you guys have any
little props? He says he'll be right behind Banks, most likely, though, referring to Malachi Coleman. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, just so you know, we're actually reading comments on our live stream. So we apologize if you're not following what we're doing right at the moment. But here's the next question. Speaking to offensive scoring, who catches the first touchdown pass in 2024? Go ahead, Justin.
Thomas Fidone. I think Derrick, he kind of alluded to it, the most pass or TD catches next year. I think he's going to start off the year with the first TD reception.
Scott?
I think it's going to look kind of a little bit like it did last year. We have Jalen Lloyd running down the seam where he cuts out to the sideline. They're not paying attention to him. No, they should be. And his quick little boogeriness gets out, and Dylan just throws a perfect little dump pass over. Well, I want to say it's a dump pass, but just a perfect little artillery cannon shell, just right down that seam. And he goes like 70 yards for a touchdown to start off our game with UTEP.
Well, I've got the same. I've got Jalen Lloyd probably on the same type of play. Some sort of like maybe what happens in the first quarters, Nebraska goes right down the field on UTEP, mostly running plays, and we score on a running play. And then the next series, maybe UTEP comes out, Ty Robinson maybe gets a strip sack, hint. And then the very first play, we throw off play action right down the field to Jalen Lloyd. I think he gets first touchdown, regardless of how it happens. How about you, Derrick? Who do you think gets first touchdown pass?
All right. Well, I think you're all wrong. I think it's Isaiah Nair, and I think it's a little screen pass that he has Janirin Bonner out there blocking for him.
Okay,
who's a beast, and he's just going to knock everybody over, and he's going to have an open field to run on.
I like it. I take all three of those. No doubt about it. So next one, who runs for the first touchdown? Who gets that first rushing TD?
I'll go here.
Go ahead.
It'll be Dylan Raiola.
Really? Really?
Yeah, that's what Nebraska always does. We get in the red zone up close, and we have to have the quarterback run it. So I'll go with Dylan Raiola.
All right. I've got Emmett Johnson. How about you guys?
Emmett Johnson.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a curveball for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett Liebentritt. Fullback. Now that's unexpected. You throw the fullback in there, and you just line up, I formation, give it to the fullback. Boom, 10 yards right down the gut. They don't know what the hell's going on. It's amazing. Memorial Stadium goes crazy.
There you go.
And that's
Royola.
That's
I guess that was you, Derrick. Justin at Nebraska. Voice of College Football agrees with you. Royola on a QB sneak. It wouldn't surprise me if we're down on the 1 foot line and we just sneak him in there as big as he is.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
I would about pick Dylan Raiola, and then I was like, I'm going to go with the fullback. And it's not really going to be much of a presence in our offense at all this year, but that's a great way to start against UTEP. You know, why the hell not?
Give those defenses down the line something to prep for. Oh crap! They actually used a real true fullback that day. All right. So moving on, let's turn the page to the Blackshirts. We're going to go through the same three categories, and starting out with the passing defense in 2023, Nebraska gave up 2,527 yards, which was 26th in the country. I've set the over-under a little bit higher, namely because I just don't know. I think maybe people are going to figure out how to get the ball out a little quicker against this aggressive Tony White defense, and that'll translate into another 220 so yards passing on us. So 2750, and here's the numbers y'all gave me. Oops, what did I do? Oh no. Where'd it go? Please tell me. Yes.
Yes.
Phew.
There it is.
I I mixed up the slides. Wow. See, I had done so well at not having glitches until just then. So, but that's normal. I always have to have one. Justin, you've got the over at 2,700. Derrick's under at 25.
Wouldn't that be the under? Oh, wouldn't that be the under?
Did I set it at 2,750, didn't I? Yeah. I'm not sure what I did there, but I screwed it up. Sorry. 2 unders and 2 overs. Scott and I are thinking, or no, Scott's an under. I'm an under too. My Lord, what did I do? What did I do?
It's okay.
Hey, it looks good it looks good in the Google Docs. In the Google Docs, it looks phenomenal. Absolutely.
Scott is so wrong that you had to screw the whole slide up.
That's what I'm here for, Jen.
That is, yeah. I think Scott should have to answer first here.
Go for it, Scott.
Well, as I was kind of talking about earlier, I think that if we're doing better on offense, that puts a lot more pressure on other offenses, and they will perform at a higher level. And then we are also seeing, like I said, an identity shift in the Big Ten to be more offensively productive. So even though the numbers look higher, I really think that the overall perspective of it isn't really going to change that much. I think our defense still looks good. I think that our secondary still looks serviceable and great. But I do think that we have a little bit in our secondary that, you know, a little bit of a side to kind of figure out, like, is Blyhill going to be starting? Is he going to be healthy for the rest of the season? Is like, there's a lot of questions in our cornerback room. Well, I would say a lot of questions. There's a few questions in our safeties in our cornerback room. And then we've got just an overall identity of the Big Ten shifting to be a little bit more high flying and crazy. And so, yeah, I think just the overall pass defense is going to take a little bit of a hit in comparison to the year before. But I mean, that's an extra 40 yards of passing per game across the board against every team that we play. When I'm considering that we're more than doubling our overall yardage collectively on offense, I think that trade-off isn't too bad. That's my reasoning. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I know I'm right. So
I would just say that number right there would have been dead last in the Big Ten last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's because what was the Big Ten doing passing wise? Like, it's going to look different this year. I think that probably puts us around. That number right there, the offense, the way that the offensive productivity is going to look in the Big Ten this year, that probably puts us middle of the pack. I think it just changes that much.
Yeah, I didn't really like my number here at 225 because I don't think it'll be that much. But I think there are going to be some opportunities for teams like mainly Colorado to rack up some yards against us again. So that kind of scares me. And playing USC, that's going to be tough.
State.
Yeah, exactly. But 220. I don't even like the 225 number because that would be 11th in the Big Ten last year at that rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it would have been 49th at 2750. At the overall over-under would have been 49th in the country in 23. So top 50, but still. I went with the over or under. I can't even. I went with a slight under. I think this defense will figure itself out. I think with the rule did let it slip the other day that Marquise Buford's going to be starting opposite Tommy Hill at the other corner. So
Were you guys shocked about that?
Sort of, but they've been cross training for years with these guys, even back to
he played corner when he first started here anyway.
Yeah, he did.
So it didn't shock me a lot, no.
So I think they really like Hartzog at safety. They really, really like him there. He snapped up a couple of interceptions playing that safety spot over the last few years. So let's take a look at the question for the defense. Who does get that first interception in 2024? Go, Derrick.
It's got to be Tommy Hill, right? Like that guy's become a massive stud. I got to go Tommy Hill here.
Okay, Justin, what do you think?
Same. Take away Tommy Hill.
Take away Tommy Hill.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think
led the team in interceptions last year,
year.
4 interceptions. There's no reason to think that he won't do it again.
If they throw to his side, if he's as good as advertised, they're going to throw to his side that much.
He'll find a way. I mean, he'll take advantage of any opportunity that comes his way.
Well, I'm with you. I've got Tommy Hill too. I just thought I'd be a jerk for a minute there. Scott, you thinking the same thing, or are you thinking somebody else?
I was gonna pick Hill, but I was like, I just think it's gonna be something funny. I think it's not funny. I want to say it's funny, but like, it's gonna be. I'm making this sound way too crazy. Deshaun Singleton. And my reason for that is I think that our defense just is so much more complementary and more well-rounded this year. Even though statistically it's gonna look different, it's gonna look technically worse on paper. But like I've said a billion times already, I think that just the overall offenses that we play is gonna look different, and there's just gonna be more spread out opportunities for guys across the defense to make plays. And I think Deshaun Singleton, he got injured and missed the rest of last season, and he's going to be probably out there pretty regularly. And I think it's just kind of one of those like feel good, like comeback, like things like, he's back. He's back and he's ready to do some things. So I want to just pick Deshaun Singleton because I want to see him get the first interception just for morale purposes.
I want to put a couple things out there. First off, I want to talk about, everybody keeps talking about all these teams that we play, and I didn't get quite a chance to talk about this in the passing defense portion. But you remember, if anybody remembers last year, remember there was like the first 5 or 6 games when we were like very bottom half in pass defense because our secondary was not doing good. And I think our secondary is so much improved that we're not going to have those games. Like Colorado, Justin, you brought up Colorado. Remember, we were shutting Colorado down up until we had about 4 turnovers, and then all of a sudden it was like the defense was getting tired and kind of wearing out, trying to keep up with those guys. But I don't think they're going to have that opportunity this year.
That's true.
So I tend to think that and that's why I went with the under that I went with. And I'll tell you who I would love to see get the first pick more than anybody would be somebody like Ty Robinson or Nash Hutmacher.
I thought of that too. I thought
the old
that would be
Dominican
so hype. That would be so
like,
sick.
Like there couldn't be anything better than the big guy getting that touchdown.
Get his big ass paws up there and just swoop one down, and then while you're at it, knock the quarterback down and knock him out for the rest of the game. Injure him. Preferably Shedeur Sanders. Imagine Shedeur Sanders just getting trucked.
No. Absolutely do not hurt the quarterback. Whatever you do, do not hurt the quarterback. Because every time we hurt a quarterback, we get screwed by the second string guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
This is true. Oh, so true.
We get the Heisman performance from the second string. What was his name? Artur Satowski.
Yeah.
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 That's like just pain.
Aiden Kalakamanis or whatever the hell his name is.
Kalakamanis, yeah.
You know, when he came in against Minnesota, when we took out Morgan.
We had
that was probably still his best game in his career.
All right, moving on to the rushing. This is where this defense really shined last year. 1,115 yards. They were fifth in the country. I actually set the over-under at lower. I set it at 1,050 simply because Nash and Ty came back, and that would be second in the country in 2023, and I'm guessing right around first in the Big Ten. So your numbers, should I have actually denoted them correctly? I hope I did. Oh, for crying out loud, I did it again. Why?
Ken, I thought you quit drinking.
There we go. I did. I did, but I might start if this shit keeps up.
Hey, I heard it takes I think it takes 4 years for your liver to fully recover itself to a certain point.
Yeah, well, we'll see. The doctor says it's functioning properly, so that's a good thing. There we go. I got the right slide up now. You've got the over, Justin. I think we all have an over. Even I wasn't confident in my over-under number.
Well, let's go with Justin first because he seems to be the most optimistic here, which is normally not the case.
Yeah,
no, I just think with the defensive line that we have, I mean, basically the front seven, I really like. And 97 yards per game, it's a little bit more than last year, but still, I mean, that's puts us fourth in the Big Ten. And, you know, when you hear people like Phil Steele throughout that Nebraska has a top 5 defensive line and everyone's talking about the defensive line, I mean, you know it's going to be good. We're going to be shutting down a lot of people, but 97 yards per game. I don't think that's a crazy number at all. I think that might even be on the high side. I think they can probably go lower.
All right. You're the next lowest, Derrick. What do you think?
Well, I hope Justin's right. I just think it's going to be tough to go back to back with that rush defense. I love the linebackers that we have. I wonder with a little bit of inexperience, especially with Javen Wright being out now.
Yeah.
I wonder what our rush defense is going to be a little bit. I mean, it worries me just slightly. I still think they're going to be really good. I think people will find a way to get the ball around us a little bit better than what I'm guessing.
Well, Justin at the Voice of College Football says under. If we can contain Ohio State's insane running back room, God Almighty.
Yeah, Rutgers has a pretty good running back too. I mean,
yeah, they do, and Ohio State probably has the 2 best running backs in the country.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
Like that's a hell of a 1-2 punch when you got 2,000-yard running backs coming in.
They have the Amon Green and Lawrence Phillips of 2024.
Yep.
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, they have their running back on NCAA 2025 is banned from playing online because his spin move is so overpowered. It can literally, it's like a Tecmo Bowl with
Bo Jackson.
Yeah, Yeah, he's like the Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl of
the left
college football 25.
It was a Bo Jackson, Thurman Thomas, right, Derrick?
Yep.
Thurman Thomas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both of them were bad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And if you wanted the bruiser back, you had to go with the Chiefs with Christian Okoye. Christian Okoye would run you the hell over.
Now you guys are just going way beyond my reach here.
Justin, knowing the 3-3-5, as he's talking about, he thinks the 3-3-5 is usually susceptible to getting gashed in the run game, especially on the edges. This defense is better and more physical and understand the offense more. I like the under. So I'm not going to explain my rationale. You and I, Scott, are both kind of like, yeah, they're going to get gashed a little bit. I think Javen Wright hadn't been announced to be hurt yet when I did my numbers. So I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest with you. 110 yards a game didn't sound like a bad number to me, but
so Scott, So you had 247 yards for passing and another 111. Do you just not like our total? Like the total defense numbers would be pretty poor right there, right? I don't know what that would be. 2, 6, 3, 6.
Like I said, I think if I were to put money, I would say that the collective identity of the Big Ten just shifts dramatically this year and this year specifically. That's what I'm putting money on, is that even though our numbers look pretty different, like from a paper standpoint, but the eye test and what you see on the field, our defense is still going to look tenacious. They're still going to look really good. I think that they're just going to just like I think last year our defense looked better than they actually were statistically, because our Big Ten identity it was so bad across the board last year. The offenses just across the board they just weren't that great, just from top to bottom. Just the top 2-3 teams were really carrying the weight of just all the statistical categories. And I think that we were a great defense last year. Don't get me wrong. I think that we were a top 25 defense, period. I just don't think that we were a top 10 defense when you put us up against just the creme de la creme game in, game out across the college football landscape. And this year, I think it evens out a little bit more. I think the offensive productivity across the Big Ten, it just looks so much better this year. And our defensive numbers collectively across the whole Big Ten are going to naturally suffer from that. And Nebraska is going to be no different. I think maybe 1337 is a little bit high. I just picked that number because it spells the word elite. It's kind of elite. Like, even though the number is kind of dumb, we're still elite.
69 is.
Hey,
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why there wasn't a 69. So
I had to switch it up. I have to be unpredictable. You don't know where I'm going.
Of course,
where am
that's
I going
the first
with my
thing
numbers?
I thought of. Oh, that's not a 69. He's just doing that to be funny.
Yes. No, I think we can look good. I think we can look better than 1337. I honestly think we're probably like, if I were to put money, I would say we do better than that number, obviously.
There's your question for this topic. Who causes the first fumble that actually gets recovered in 2024? And it does not have to be on defending a run play.
I'll go. I think it's Jamari Butler on a strip sack.
Okay.
I think he's going to be phenomenal getting to the quarterback. I'm going to love this kid. He's going to be fun to watch.
I have Ty Robinson. I think Ty Robinson, that big-bodied mofo, I think he's going to just destroy somebody.
That's where I'm at. I'm with Ty Robinson on that one too, for sure. How about you, Scott?
I'm gonna go, and this is once again for fun. But I mean this like literally. Princewell Umamuelen. And this is what I got 86 viewers right now. Umamuelen is gonna be our next ooh sound. Everyone's just going to go, ooh, because no one can say his name. So we're just going to call him Princewell Ooh. And so anytime he gets a big play, everyone's going to go, ooh, and it's going to be great. That's my reason.
There you go.
For the funds.
Justin from Voice of College Football says Jamari Butler. Moonbot says Vincent Shavers Jr.
Hey, how excited are you guys about seeing Vincent Shavers this year?
With Jamar or Javen Wright going down, his playing time is going to go up significantly over what they may have initially planned. I'm real excited because
I know On Three is comparing him a lot to Ernest Hausman,
and I've heard some comparisons of Levante David where he's kind of out of place at times, but his athleticism makes up for a lot of it. So I'm looking forward to him.
How early do you think we'll see him at UTEP?
Second quarter, late
UTEP?
First quarter, somewhere in there. How about you?
First quarter?
Yeah,
I think first quarter. Yeah,
I think first quarter.
This staff's been pretty good about rotating guys on defense. I don't see any reason why they're not going to do that again. And I don't know if people realize this, but UTEP runs a very, very high tempo offense.
Yes, they do.
And so they're going to want to really rotate guys as much as they possibly can in that game.
Yep. Let's see here. Next up, it's our last category that we'll discuss tonight. 2023 scoring on defense was 18.3 points per game. Literally what chasing 3 means, I think, is chasing how to get that 0.3 off the board and adding 3 points to ours. But 20.5 is what I have the over-under set at. And let's see, I actually have the correct slide. There we go. We're all
right.
We're all right at it. All right at it. You've got the under, Justin. Scott's got the under. I have a slight over, as does Derrick. I'm thinking, like you're saying, Scott, I agree with you in the fact that the Big Ten, the topography and the offensive style of the Big Ten, not only are some of the teams going to a more spread or pro-style shotgun attack than we've seen in the past, but you're adding some pretty good offenses like USC and possibly Washington. They could be one of those that just come up out of nowhere and bite you because that head coach they hired from Arizona knew how to run an offense too. So who knows what UCLA is going to be? It's a crapshoot. Oregon's going to be good. Oregon's going to be good. So yeah, I could see easily opponents scoring on an average of just under 21 points against us. Derrick, what do you think?
USC and Ohio State scare me, and I think they're going to bump this average up. I think everybody else we can probably hold to under that 20.5, right? But it's those 2 teams that are going to skew. They're going to skew this number a little bit.
Okay, Justin.
I mean, 20.1, it's a little bit worse than last year, but my total defense numbers were a little bit higher than last year. So I kind of just adjusted on what I thought the total defense numbers would be. So I think 20.1, I mean, geez, I had 27 points for offense and 20 points for defense. I mean, if those numbers come to fruition, we're going to win a lot of games this year. That's going to be we're going to be okay. But yeah, 20.1. That's still last year would have been 7th in the Big Ten in scoring defense. But the Big Ten's just so good in defense. I mean, the defense is just so great.
And that's the area I hope Nebraska improves on dramatically is red zone defense. We really struggled with that a lot last year, and I'm hoping you see a lot of improvement there.
Yeah, Justin from Voice of College Football is with you, Derrick. Grading on a curve because you have Ohio State and I guess USC as well looming on the schedule. So, Scott, your thoughts on going that far under?
So this is where I redeem myself with the collective defensive stats having a blemish or a decrease in proficiency. Is that if there's one thing our identity can put itself on this year is that you can take a lot of yards and you can make us bend, but we're not going to break this year. That's the one thing I think we're going to see on this defense is, I mean, it's a 3-3-5. A 3-3-5 is susceptible to the bend, don't break mentality. It's just what it is. That's its meta identity. And it's always been that way. And so I think this year we see a lot of bend, but we just don't break. We get pushed around every once in a while. We have some explosive 3-and-outs every once in a while, but for the most part, we just kind of let them play tit for tat. And then when it comes down to the red zone, we're rock solid. When it comes to them being on our side of the field, I mean, we're going to look good. I think that what are we going to do this year that we haven't done in years? We're going to take that damn ball away. We're going to make those offenses make more mistakes. We're going to capitalize on mistakes. And so even though their passing numbers and their rushing numbers are pretty intimidating to look at, when it's all said and done, our defense did what they needed to do. And we look good when it matters most. And what matters most is them just not scoring. Numbers look great everywhere except for the scoring category. Perfect.
You make
That's
some
what I
really
want to see
good-
this year.
You make some really good points here, and I it's hard to disagree with you. But can you not use the term "bend don't break"? I thought Eric Schneider was gone. I don't want to hear that shit no more.
Hey, it's what else am I supposed to call it that isn't synonymous with that?
I think he
term,
ruined.
you know?
Yeah, Eric Schneider kind of ruined.
He
did ruin it.
But
I like Nebraska at the voice of college football's. It's a risk reward defense. How about that?
Yeah.
That sounds much.
There we
better.
go.
yeah,
Yes,
it's not.
I like that.
Yeah, I like the bend don't break concept. I appreciate you mentioning that because that's not what Tony White runs though. His is an extremely aggressive 3-3-5. So he shoots a lot of gaps. He brings a lot of blitzes. So it's definitely not bending and break. It's you get gapped once in a while because you just happen to
you get
bring
caught
the
with your
blitz
pants
wrong.
down, and it's going to
Yeah.
pad those stats a
High
little bit.
risk, high reward system, and he seems to be dialing all the right things up. And he's bringing in the right athletes to make some of those risks and rewards. They're extremely athletic, extremely fast, extremely long, able to make a lot of plays, can play just about anywhere on the field. Some of these DBs and linebackers, it's definitely a high risk, high reward defense, and I'm here for it because when Nebraska was great, we ran this thing called the 4-3 that had a bunch of small dudes playing defensive end, but they were quick. They had a lot of safeties playing linebacker, but they were quick. So there was a very risk reward type of defense that we played back then that won championships. So I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it. Let's see here. What's this? Everyone has to be in their area of responsibility for it to work. Absolutely.
And that's a good point. That's where, as much as I love Vincent Shavers, because he's Justin will tell you, I've spoke glowingly of this kid. But as a true freshman, you worry about him being out of place a little
Being
bit.
in the right place. Yeah, for sure. All right. We got a couple more questions here to answer, and then we'll call it a night. Who gets the first sack in 2024? Go ahead, Scott.
This one's fun. Isaac Gifford. And the reason for it is because, like we were just talking about, Tony White likes to take risks, and he likes to play a lot of displacement of positioning. And just when you think he's going to play zone coverage, no, he's actually coming into that A gap and he's blitzing you. And so, yeah, I think Isaac Gifford just has just one of those moments, and you're just like, yes. Because, I mean, we're playing UTEP. It's not this BS playing some Big Ten opponent in Ireland or on their field. Like, no, we're finally getting an opponent that we can just kind of just play loose with. And so why not have risky blitz packages out there?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going Isaac Gifford.
All right. I have got Jamari Butler. He's the one that had the most sacks last year, so I'm sticking with him.
That's smart.
Gotten bigger, gotten faster.
That's
I'm
who I
going
have.
Jamari Butler. Is that you have? Okay. How about you, Derrick?
I'll go Nash. I think I can see the polar bear getting in there and knocking down a quarterback or two.
That's fair. I could see it.
Scott, Ken, who do you guys think will lead the team in sacks next year?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
That's a good one.
Really, because I like I love Butler, but I love some of those other guys that play that jack spot too. I love it. I love MJ Sherman, Prince Will. I love all those guys.
James Williams.
James Williams, very, very.
Cam
Lenhart.
There's a lot of candidates out there. I mean,
there's so many.
This thing is so deep, and it's so beautiful that we have so many older guys that decided to come back and show the way to getting back to being a bowl team. Hopefully, most likely. God bless.
Well, and credit Rule and this staff for not letting some of these younger guys go with the older guys coming back. It would have been easy for a Cam Lenhart going, you know what? If these two guys are coming back, I'm gonna transfer.
Moonbot says Buford. Kool-Aid Man says your mom.
Well, don't be asking for her autograph because she.
Hey, if my mom could be the one to do that, that would be.
Yeah, he makes his
That'd be
Kool-Aid
something.
with vodka instead of water. So Kool-Aid Man there. That's a good one. Prince Will from Justin.
To answer your question of who gets the most sacks, honestly, it's hard to pick because I think our defense they are going to be so equally elevated. I think they share a lot of the statistical categories pretty evenly, and sacks is probably going to be one of them where we have. I'm going to say we break 20 sacks across this defense, but I think a lot of guys.
It's got to be more than that. Last year we had 30, right?
Yeah, we had 30. We need more than that.
Oh shoot!
I think it's Jamari Butler. He led us in sacks last year. I think he improved as the year went on.
Yeah,
I think he's got something to prove this year. I'm gonna go with Jamari. I said it earlier. I think this kid's gonna be great to watch.
All right,
so fun.
Derrick, when's the last time that we had 40 sacks?
2014, I think.
Was it 2014? I was thinking 20.
Maybe it was one of the Riley years. I don't remember.
I think this is a year where we could have collectively 40 sacks.
I do too.
Collectively.
I hope so. The one issue is, as much as I love this defensive line, how deep it is, I don't know if we have that Randy Gregory guy. I don't know if we have the Jared Crick I don't know if we have that one guy that's just going to be able to take over. Maybe it is Jamari Butler. Maybe I'm wrong. And Jamari Butler would be the one that I would pick if I had to, that could do that.
Sure.
But we just don't. I don't know. I don't know if we have that super stud, like a Randy Gregory. I just don't know if we have that right now.
Yeah, I don't. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is I don't think we have just like a guy who puts himself above the rest.
I think we're between the 30 and 35. I think 40 is just a little bit high yet.
That's fair.
Well, Justin at Boys College Football makes good. We had 8 against Colorado. I think we had 8.
We had 8 against Northwestern as well.
Northwestern, yeah. So half of our sacks came against 2 teams. But it's very possible we'll be doing that again against some of these early season opponents that probably don't have the offensive line.
And UTEP's a fine candidate for it. Like I would not be shocked if we come close to that 8 sacks against UTEP. Again, they're in that fast-paced offense. They're going to throw the ball a lot.
And we're going to rotate a lot of guys that are going to give some shots at the quarterback. So a lot of speed coming in and out on that. And with the fast-paced offense, it's probably going to be a smaller offense, so we can keep that smaller defense out there and keep those big guys rested. So second question, who scores a defensive or special teams TD first in 2024? I meant to put first in there. My bad.
This is the easiest question of the year.
Go ahead.
Corey Barney.
Corey Barney. Yep. You've got the same one I do on a punt return.
Well, I was thinking kickoff return, either one.
I'm thinking it's Tommy Hill. And because I don't think he gets the first interception, but I think he does take a pick 6. And I think we probably take a pick 6 before we get a kick or punt return for a touchdown.
I agree. That's who I have. I have Tommy Hill as well. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities. He's going to lead the team in interceptions again. And with his athletic ability, I mean, he's going to take one to the house.
Dude, he's clearly drinking a lot of
that's Elvano fake pass for a touchdown.
Yep.
That's
Moonbot says Barney.
Justin hates that because he doesn't even want Alvano on the field.
If he's not healthy, I don't know why you would play him. I mean,
hey, dude, if he's running touchdowns, bro, titties, dude, he's getting the titties, them TDs. What else do we need him for? You know, like he doesn't need to kick it. Like just run it.
All right. Well, that wraps up the over-under game for 2024. I've got all of the responses, and I've got all the responses on your players and whatnot put on this doc that I've got in front of me. Boys, where can folks find you, and what do you have on tap? I know you said you've got your UTEP recap coming up. Is there any other special things you're going to do on that show besides the recap, and where can they find the show?
So as the season starts, we're going to do 2 episodes a week again. On Sunday nights, we're going to record our game recap. On Tuesday nights, we'll record our weekly preview. Those will be posted on Herd at Sports the following morning. So Monday morning and Wednesday morning, they'll be available. You can find our podcast on anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Podbean, Spotify, wherever. And there's, I don't know if we're going to do YouTube. I don't know. We're looking into it, but We'll just not worry about YouTube right now. Nobody wants to see our ugly faces anyway, right?
Well, you're here.
Nah.
And, but to be fair, I've been looking at comments all day, the whole show. So, let's see here. You can follow us at GenRedPod on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Said that earlier tonight. GenRedPod@gmail.com is our email address. If you want to send us a note, give us comments or suggestions about the show, that's the place to do it, as well as if you want to help volunteer with the golf tournament that we're going to be doing on October 12th. We'd appreciate volunteers for that. So email us at genredpod.com. We'll get your name on a list, and you'll get a crisp high five from me just for volunteering. We appreciate that. And maybe there's a t-shirt. We'll see. Let's see here. Is there anything else? Yeah, next live stream. Our recap of the UTEP game is next Sunday night live. All of us will be in the studio Sunday night. It'll be Scott, myself, my wife will be in here, as well as my cousin Janelle and her husband Chuck will be in the studio as well. They're visiting from Pennsylvania, so we'll have our own little Cuz Cast, I suppose, talking about the UTEP game and asking them what it was like to go to their very first major college football game. They're Penn State fans, and they've never been to Penn State. So, but then again, Happy Valley, it's like trying to get into a prison, apparently. So, so they're going to be here
for that one.
It's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. And then, yes, Justin at the Voice of College Football, make sure you're subscribed to his channel. That's it right there. He's got Anthony Grant coming on his show on Tuesday. So would love to. I will be in the comments hanging out on that one, Justin, for sure. No doubt about it. I've got to get up early tomorrow, guys. I've actually got a 6:30 a.m. shift. Ugh. But I get to work 4 days this week, so that buys a little bit of golf equipment. So life is good. Life is good. Anyway, on behalf of Scott and I and Derrick and Justin from the Husker Cuz Cast, we would all like to thank you for watching and listening. And until next week, when we will be recapping an actual freaking game. Yes, we got football coming, guys. 6 days. Oh, I can't wait. We are Generation Red, and we are here to chronicle the Huskers' inevitable return to college football greatness, one podcast at a time, because there is no place like Nebraska.
And Iowa's corn sucks more than losing to Georgia Tech.
Ooh.
That was a great game.
That was a good.
That was a great game.
You know what? I didn't watch any of the Week 0 football yesterday because I didn't want to be so jazzed up by it that these next 6 days would seem even longer. So
you missed out on one hell of a.
Oh, I know, I did. I watched Twitter and everybody was losing their mind, and it was great.
It was awesome.
So, anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We appreciate it. Good night. God bless, and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.